That's the key. You can never stay centered on the path that you're on because it's the wrong path. You're going totally the opposite direction of where you need to go. Hi, this is Masati. Welcome to my podcast, Exponential Intelligence, where we give you a roadmap on how life works and then how to make it a hell of a lot better. One of the intriguing, bigger questions of life that I'd like to answer this time around is, why do we need to experience negativity and suffering? Why do we choose to incarnate in a world where there is so much suffering? And then why not just stay in heaven? Right. Logistical questions, really fantastic. Okay? And it goes deep. I'm not going to go in too deep on it. But we'll start with the first one. Why do we need to experience negativity and suffering? Okay. Well, that's the key component there. And I want to ask you is it really negativity or suffering that you're experiencing? So basically, it's like, why do you want to experience pain? So why do we have pain? Why do we have pain receptors? It's actually a mechanism that saves you, right? Because if you didn't have pain mechanisms, and I'm sure you've heard this story over and over again, you could put your hand on a hot stove and you could just burn your hand off. So that's a good reason, right? That's a good thing. But over time, we've redefined pain and suffering, negativity and suffering, into something that is really negative for us, into something that's really, takes us away from where we are. It takes us away from our center. Okay? So let's redefine what negativity and suffering is about. Let's redefine it back to its original source. So in essence, negativity and suffering is all about telling you that you're off center. That's why we have it. It's not a bad thing. It's a real good thing. Wouldn't you want to know if you're on the right path or not? So most people that don't, it's like, no, I don't want that negativity and suffering. It's literally like driving blind. Imagine that you're blind and you're driving and you've got your foot on the accelerator. You're going 80, 90 miles an hour. Pretty damn scary, isn't it? You don't know where you're going. Well, negativity and suffering is all about, it's like, hey, you know what? I'm veering off to the left or right. I'm on the shoulder. I'm going to go into that cliff. I want to stay centered with my path. The problem is, here's the key, and here's the rub on this question. The problem is, many people are on the wrong path. That's the key. You can never stay centered on the path that you're on because it's the wrong path. You're going totally the opposite direction of where you need to go. Okay? So it's not about negativity and suffering. It's literally, and why we have so much of it, it's because the deeper you go, the further down you go into this path, the more negativity and suffering that you have. Look at the world. Look at the world. Has it gotten better? Yeah, maybe. Has it gotten worse? Maybe. I'm not here to judge, but look at the situation of what's happening. Why is it happening? Well, it's because we didn't heed the signals back in the day going, hey guys, we're going the wrong direction. We need to change something. So what happens, just like when you don't confirm your deletions, right? You want to do the same thing. You want to keep on that same path, same habits, same patterns that have destroyed you in the past. And then what happens to you? Your life gets worse, right? And then you blame me. Again, the key is that you don't have to blame others. It's not about suffering. It's not like, why did God do this to me? It's because you're going the wrong direction. It's telling you. And this is where, when you're going into the wrong direction, by the way, joy and happiness destroys you at the same, level as negativity and suffering. You heard that correctly. Joy and happiness and euphoria will destroy you just as much as negativity and suffering. Why? Because it's not about the emotions. It's not about feeling bad. It's not about feeling good anymore. It's about saving you. Because the further you go down, again, the deeper that we go down, whether it's an individual, or, a group, or again, the whole human species, the consciousness, the mastermind, as I call it, well, you get to understand, you get to know that you're going in a totally different direction. So what do you do about it? Well, you change your direction. And then when we go, well, Moss, I did change my direction. I got a new spouse, new partner, I changed my job. That's not the direction. It's the consciousness that you have to change. It's who you are at a deep level. It's the reality that you exist in, that you create in, is the difference, is the direction that you need to change. It's not who you're with. It's not what you're doing. It's not moving to another location. It's got nothing to do with that. And that's why you have more pain and suffering. As you've noticed this past year, there's been a lot of pain and suffering. That pain and suffering has been with you. It's been with us. It's been with the human species since the beginning of mankind. Right? Has it gotten worse? Sure, it has. Hasn't, and again, has it? Not really. You might think it is. But just like when you go through a detox process, you might think it's, hey, Moss, I did the 18 days with you, right? 18 days, fastest way to transform your life, just by listening, right? And you did that and you go, well, it changed my life, but now it's a hell of a lot worse, Moss. What the hell happened? Well, again, it's all that pain and suffering that's deep within you is getting pulled out of you. And then you get to make a choice. The world today is making a choice. Do you want to hold on to that pain and suffering? Many people do. They want to hold on to their old identities. They want to hold on to that control mechanism. This time around, you can't. Right? Let's move on to the second part of that question. Why do we choose to incarnate in a world where there's so much suffering? Again, it's not about the suffering. It's about what we do with the suffering. Suffering is just a gauge. Again, going back to the first question, suffering and pain is just a gauge to tell you you are all off center. You're going the wrong direction, simply. So with that definition in mind, why do we choose to incarnate in a world where there's so much suffering? Well, why are we in this world? Why are we here? Why don't we just stay in heaven, right? Well, it's very simple. At a highest level, and again, it goes way high, you might look into the science of Satan. For those individuals who are more, say, XI compliant or understand the deeper understandings of XI, you'd want to take a look at it's a lecture series, The Science of Satan. So the link will be below for you, okay, if you need that link. Is that we have to dispel the myths about, well, Satan, actually. And again, so God, I don't know should I get into this? Should I not get into this? Guys, we'll just tell it like it is. So in society or in religions, even if you're an atheist, you still believe in this concept because it's so ingrained in the human consciousness, okay? So we think of a Satan, right? We think of an individual that was so high, closest thing next to God, and then that individual, that angel, separated and got mad at God and decided to, destroy God, basically, right? Destroy everything that God created just because, again, he got mad and jealous. Those are human emotions that somebody at that higher level, by the way, would never have. I'm not going to talk about the truth of that, the truth of the religions, because it's in a lot of the religions. I'm not going to talk about that. But to dispel this reason on why we incarnate with so much suffering, we have to turn that, say, myth around. The world was not created between two forces, good or evil. Again, let me say that again. The world was not created on two forces, good and evil, okay? At a higher level. There is no two forces. There's only one force that allows us to understand this reality. How do we understand this reality? How do we touch and feel? Well, by reference points. What are reference points? Something that's different than where you are, right? If you didn't know, if you didn't compare yourself to something else, you wouldn't know where you are. That makes sense to you, right? You'd always have, this reality is always about referencing yourself in comparison to where you are. So think of it that way. So when you're pain and suffering, you're referencing yourself. You're outside of the circle where you should be in. Simple as that. But most people don't understand how to get back into that center, how to get back into that circle, right? There's so much stuff out there, psychology, self-improvement, prayer, meditation, all those things. Again, you're still going into the wrong direction. You might be more comfortable going the wrong direction or forcing yourself to go into the wrong direction. So it's not about that. It's about, again, going into the right direction, understanding that the logistics, okay, or the gauge, the more suffering and pain that you're experiencing, just means that you're off center of where you should be. It's not your fault, or if you want to blame yourself, blame it if it's going to get you back into center. This is the problem, that people start to blame themselves for their pain and suffering. They start to blame the environment. They start to blame other people for their pain and suffering, which again catapults or magnifies the pain and suffering that everybody else experiences as well. Okay, so now that we understand the logistics, why the Satan thing? Why did I bring that up? Well, if you are creating a reality that's based on that experience, okay, or those logistics, again, good and evil, always battling it out, what's going to happen in your reality? If that's your concept, if you're a baby, and again, right, you're a baby, you right off the bat, in your mother's womb, you're battling the environment, good and evil. It's not about that, right? Viruses or anything that's negative out there that might destroy you, it's actually there to enhance you. It's actually there to improve who you are. It's actually there to, say, strengthen who you really are. So most people don't understand pain and suffering, so they use it to destroy themselves. Successful individuals, enlightened individuals, use pain and suffering the proper way, not by sacrificing themselves, but using pain and suffering to enhance and increase their vitality, enhance their youthfulness, enhance their strength. It allows them to create, say, big steps that they can create solid foundations and go to higher and higher levels. So why not just stay in heaven? Well, this could be heaven for you if we knew how to use it. By the way, people who are on the other side, they're not just in heaven. How do you know where they are, right? Just because you think you die, you go to heaven, that most people think. That's not true. I see both sides. I see both realities. I see all realities, by the way. They're not any happier in heaven because most don't go to heaven. They stay in the consciousness that they exist in because they didn't know how to get out. So again, it's not the logistics, it's not the mechanism. The mechanism works perfectly, but how we use the mechanism. We use it as a destructive force. We're supposed to use it as a gauge to again, understand where we are and then implement true solutions to get us back into center. How do we get back into center? Spatial referencing. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the specifics of spatial referencing, but spatial referencing is the key component, or the 1, 2, 3 steps on helping you become present, helping you become one, helping you become, say, singular, right? Your eternal being that we all want. By the way, I do have a podcast on spatial referencing if you'd like to know more about that, so listen to that. It'll help you stay centered. It'll help you understand why there's pain and suffering. It'll help you utilize it as a perfect tool to, again, center yourself, to expand into your limitless potential.